Hi everyone, Kelly Mahler, occupational therapist, and I want to take the time to talk about something called autistic burnout. Maybe you've heard the word burnout before, but autistic burnout is different. It is more than just stress. It's more than just fatigue. It is a deep, full body neurological response to living in a world that is not set up to support the autistic brain and body. Things like constant sensory bombardment and social pressures, sudden changes, lack of support and accommodations can really just build up slowly over time until a person's system just can't take it anymore. And what makes autistic burnout even harder is that many autistic people themselves, as well as professionals, like this is not a widely discussed topic yet. And many times the early signs of burnout are not recognized. And it's not until a person gets to a very significant crisis point when the autistic burnout is realized. In this post, we'll be talking about 5 things you should know about autistic burnout, and also we'll be talking a little bit about how interoception might be able to offer some perspective, some prevention, and also some healing from autistic burnout. So the first thing that's important to know about autistic burnout is that it's not the same as general burnout. It's not just being stressed, it's not just being tired, it is a whole body neurological shutdown. It can be very serious, it's involuntary, it's not a choice. And rest doesn't always help because the system is deeply, deeply dysregulated. Many people struggle when they reach this autistic burnout. They struggle to complete basic self-care tasks like showering or cooking or cleaning. They might lose access to communication, and maybe they might have some cognitive effects like their memory might decline. Many times this burnout makes it very hard for people to maintain jobs or attend school or nurture their relationships, to live independently. They might need a lot more supports and accommodations than previously. And many times the conventional advice like just do more self-care or just take a break is really very unhelpful, and it oftentimes very much falls short. Because we need to really consider the nervous system and how this is a response of a very dysregulated system. So number 2 is masking is a major contributor to autistic burnout. Masking is largely a trauma response where a person is forced to hide their authentic self in order to meet neuronormative standards, to fit in with what society dictates. And many autistic people are forced to mask from very early on in life, and they're masking for years in school, in work, in relationships, many times without even realizing it. So essentially it's almost like they're performing or forced to perform this neurotypical way of being in the world. And so that performance requires such significant level of energy to continually hide who you are as a person. Although this is many times involuntary, it still requires a great deal of effort to mask, to suppress what your body needs to thrive in this world in order to get by. And eventually, because of the significant amount of energy that performance requires, it really disrupts the ability to sense what your authentic needs are, laying the groundwork for this burnout. And so we know from many people that have experienced autistic burnout that it's oftentimes caused by this long-term masking and trying to meet society's expectations. The number 3 thing to know about autistic burnout is that sensory changes are a common part of the autistic burnout experience. We know that many autistic people report sensory differences from a very young age, but oftentimes when burnout is present, it can create sensory changes where these sensory differences might be more intense or more noticeable even. So burnout can either many times create overwhelm to the external senses or the sensory world around a person. So maybe perhaps someone becomes more overwhelmed by sounds or lights or textures that were previously tolerable. They might experience more sensory shutdowns. They might need increased control over their environment in order to function. But we also know that many people in autistic burnout report interoceptive changes or changes to the way their body feels. Some people report losing touch with signals, letting them know when they're hungry or thirsty or in pain or they need to rest. I've heard people describe their emotions as fuzzy or becoming inaccessible. So like almost like their body is numb or feeling like a ghost. And so without that accurate connection to your body, that can compound the burnout process even more. It's really hard to notice that you're heading towards a crash, to know exactly like what is creating distress in your body, to know exactly what your body needs if that disruption to the connection with interoception is present. And that leads me to number 4, that many autistic people don't recognize that they're in burnout until a total collapse. We hear this from many people that experience autistic burnout, that, if an autistic person is encountering a lived experience or life that is really conditioning them to ignore the way their body feels. They're masking to survive. They are under forms of compliance, which teach that you need to ignore the way your body feels to please other people. That interoception connection is very much derailed. And so being able to rely on your body, your interoceptive system, to give you important signals about what's going on in your body, including, but not limited to, heading towards autistic burnout, can be really compromised. And so without those reliable interoceptive signals, those early warning signals oftentimes get missed. So many times a person will describe their autistic burnout as a sudden shutdown moment. That lead up was invisible. That gradual burnout experience was not recognized because of the lived experience surrounding that person. And many times we hear that delay in recognition also leads to guilt and shame, and many times even misdiagnoses like depression. And that leads to number 5, which is really the whole point of this discussion, is that we need more information about autistic burnout. We need to be listening to the community and what they're sharing about their experiences. We need to have more research that is led by autistic researchers to understand the autistic experience and really work together to create more preventative measures, as well as learning about how we can support the healing of autistic burnout. I have a brand new course that is all about this topic of autistic burnout, taught with David Gray Hammond and Tanya Adkin. We're going to be talking about a lot of factors that contribute to the autistic experience, especially this burnout experience. And we're going to be talking about prevention and healing processes. Until next time.